letter.
resolution letter.
Yeah, because I had,
You think I can't spell? Goddamn, when you start spelling something and it puts a word in,
broken
Oh, yeah.
axis.
Tim has to pick that stuff up.
Wow.
Uh,
Yeah,
So
this
that's
just
when
is
I went
only
back
half.
to Curtis was, that was from Smith.
Okay.
Remember Smith up there?
No, I knew the name
Now
of
there's
everybody.
Lee
good, Mario.
up there on Wall Street. But
Okay.
anyway,
God.
Tim had put one in, but it always
Oh, I'm sorry, I said.
couldn't figure it out. Then
Break up
then he
the
started
view.
going to stuff off.
Mm-hmm.
And he took a shot at it this way, and the thing inside broke apart. Yeah.
Really?
That's why I never,
Wow, you never see
yeah,
them.
pull it out. Because the other one was bad, and he just put it,
There's an
permanent
interesting
three piece.
Yeah, yeah,
You have
yeah, this tooth I broke,
to look at something.
on my 16th birthday.
But we got like
Car
22
accident.
potential
Yeah.
connections.
It fell off when I was 29
Systems.
or something, so that wasn't bad.
No, no.
And then, knock on wood, I haven't had it replaced since, and I'm gonna be 55 this year, so, knock on wood.
Yeah, I mean, mine's been that, well, it's been quite a while since I had it done. Well, I would say more than 15 years ago.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome.
I got your letter late, I read what I could, but I couldn't print it out.
Which one?
The one you just sent,
Did you do stuff?
Dave.
That long-winded guy?
Oh, you got a spare?
Was Bruce gonna be here tonight?
He said he was.
Yeah.
'Cause I didn't see his phone out back, so. Maybe he went out to get dinner.
He didn't even look the whole thing over yet, right?
Not 100%, no.
Guy ain't gonna get none for another year. Don't do it right, don't do it at all. That's what I always said. Too many years we did stuff backwards. Is this thing on?
Yes.
Before I start talking too much. Is this on now, Lauren?
Well, yeah, but it's not
The
recording.
mics are, but it's not recording.
Oh,
If it was recording, it'd be the left screen.
Oh, okay. Yeah, here. Oh, you want this back on?
No, I got a copy.
Oh, okay. Ran.
No? Well, yeah, that's okay.
Jim coming?
Yeah, sure he is.
Good news for you. My house. Oh, never mind.
Oh,
All right.
that's not good.
There you go. There's the double.
I think we're leaving closes on the 23rd.
What, February?
Taking my wife to Arizona. And I'm gonna fly back, stay here till January 1st.
Yeah, good luck. No, okay.
Tell my wife, you're the first to know. This just happened Monday morning.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
get started? Roll call done?
Yep.
Okay, let's, public input, or,
You want to talk now or when you get to my item?
well, I got just approval of the minutes now, your items up.
I'll wait for that.
Approval of minutes, August 11th, 2020.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from August 11th.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Approval of special meeting minutes, August 25th.
I'll make a motion, we approve the special meeting minutes for August 25th.
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Barkhamsted sewer line?
Okay, I know that I sent you a more detailed sheet, so I'll be brief. As I mentioned in the email, I have to leave, about 6:30, so I'll go to finance meeting, I have to go to. So I will be as brief as I can. Basically, what is critical tonight to me and the project moving forward is to get an approval, because time is critical, and that approval certainly can be based on, if you can do it, to authorize Jim or Jim and Dave or Jim and Marty to finalize all the details. But when I looked at what Dave put forward, there was nothing extreme in there that couldn't be resolved in a, you know, we had some face-to-face meetings in Dave's office and go through and make sure that the list, the checklist is satisfactory to your technical staff. The rest of what is in here, the only really critical issue or issue that is hard for us to accept is the fact that, you know, you're still requesting the laterals be included. And I'd like to just point out a couple of things. One is typically when you do a sewer system as a town, for example, Highland Lake, you assess all the homeowners for the cost of the sewer system, the main, the laterals, running the pipe up to the house. And you recoup your expenses in that manner for the capital expense of putting in the sewer system. When a developer has a new development, they typically would build the cost of the sewer system into the price of the lots, the price of the houses. They recoup their investment, you know, through that manner. What we did when we signed the agreement, which covers basically the hookup from Barkhamsted to Winstead, is we agreed to take any assessment out of that agreement for the Winstead residents along Old New Hartford Road. So the laterals would typically be paid for by the homeowner at a later time. In the case of these kind of pipes, the small pipes, it's a hot weld into the pipe and then a bore under the road so it doesn't disturb the road. And I do have an email here which I can share, I don't have it electronically with me. For example, there's a Lee Brown who owns either 4 or 5 family house right on the town line on the Winstead side. He's ready to go because he's got a family septic system and he'd rather hook up to the sewer system and pay, if he could even put in a new septic on the property. And he's willing to pay all the way from the pipe in the road to his house. And I think that would be typical of residents along there. If there's a sewer system available and their septic fails, they'd be willing to pay the cost of going to the pipe from the pipe into their house. So basically, the critical thing for me tonight is that you approve it with the authority, authorization for Jim and whoever you want to designate, to meet with Dave and the developer and iron out the few things that are in there. And I don't think there was any major issues that I saw, and again, I'm not a civil engineer, but I also would like you to consider that the laterals not be included based on the fact that the agreement doesn't mention laterals whatsoever, and it doesn't mention that Barkhamsted should be providing free service to Winstead residents.
Anyone have a comment?
So we will be on the hook for the lateral from our regulations. We provide the lateral from the main to the curb stop. If somebody puts in an application now for a new sewer line.
If we go along with what Don said.
We put it in to their property line. So ultimately, we'll be responsible for from the main to the curb stop on our line.
Correct, if we agree to what Don has suggested.
What's the cost per lateral?
According to what I'm told for this type of installation, where you dig to the pipe, you do a hot well, where you run the pipe under by boring. The term that I was told is called a mole, which I've never heard of before. So basically, you're looking at a couple of $1,000 just for to run the lateral. There's obviously more cost for the pump
So just the amount in the street where the lateral is gonna be,
Couple of thousand.
couple $1,000s, and how many Winston,
There's 18 properties there, not all of which have houses on them right now. So there's somewhere around, was it 12, 15 houses there?
Somewhere in around.
but 18 tops,
Yeah.
so we're talking $36,000. And how much is the total project?
Don't know.
We don't know
You
yet.
don't have a guess yet?
On the order of 400 to 500,000. I don't have a firm figure, but that's as close as.
Okay, 4 to 5, so.
So about 1%.
The other part of this is that, you know, if the project fails for whatever reason, it doesn't go forward, you're losing 40 to 50 customers. Your people along Old Hartford Road, the tiny housing development that we, you know, need sewers for, or a community septic, and whatever the shopping center would use. So, you know, there's a capital investment in the project, and if it fails for whatever reason, whether it's this or something else, then you do lose some revenue to your plan, which as I understand is fairly significantly underutilized.
Well, our first comment is, I don't feel comfortable just letting, I know Jim and Dave are gonna be the final say anyways, but I'd rather see the project before I give it my blessing. That's how I feel. So as far as that goes, it's my feeling. I don't know about the rest of the board. That's up to them.
I don't see any reason why we can't have a special meeting within a day or two of when Dave and Jim iron everything out. That way the board has the final say like we should in the first place.
My point of view is, you know, we've got David who's put a lot of effort into this, not because of the effort, but because of the knowledge of the system and the components that are needed here. And for Jim and Bruce to follow up, I would have no problem in giving a conditional approval based on the details being worked out, based on our discussion tonight about what the key issues that we have that might not be, engineering standpoint to do with laterals.
Well, as far as I can see, the laterals are the only sticking point. There are quite a few obstacles that still haven't been resolved from what I've read in Dave's letter. You can elaborate on that if you like.
Well, John's characterization of most of these things are easily ironed out, I would say is true. If you can have a good sit-down meeting with the engineers working for the developer. The last time we met with them, they, you know, it was a very productive meeting. And they went a long way in the legal submission toward giving what the town asked for. The sticking points that I see are the laterals, the flow meter issue, and there's caveats that we should talk about there, and the hydraulic calculations that are embedded in the design report, making sure that the sewer has the capacity for a certain amount of properties that everybody agrees is connected or will be connected at some point in the future. It's a little bit unclear, and the sand has been shifting a little bit. On this latest round of plans, the design engineer put on a table of properties that are potential connections. All those properties were listed on a concept plan that I put together a couple of years ago. When you look at the design calculations in the same report, the numbers of connections don't match up with these tables that are on them. So it's a little bit unclear. That's something we need to find out. So those are what I see as the biggest sticking points. Jim, do you have any others? The rest of it's nuts and bolts details that can be hammered out at a conference table.
Yeah, looking for something that's specific.
We're still gonna need a developer's agreement between the developer and the Winchester board.
Yeah, that's actually part of where what I'm reading right now.
Yes.
In our sewer regs.
I think where he's at and where I'm at, if you call it conditional approval, says the plan can be
flow meter for me is non-negotiable.
I'm not arguing that.
No, I know you're not, I'm just,
What
that's,
they brought up were things that need resolution, some of which, like he categorized the nuts and bolts, some of which, when you go through this with him tonight, you like said, I can only do another 15 minutes.
right.
You can go through and check off, says this has to be, this has to be, this has to be, this, or you waive this, or leave it to your judgment.
I mean, the pump station still hasn't been designed, so I'm not even sure what that's gonna entail as far as flow goes into the system. I don't know if it's gonna create any problems down the line.
I thought Eric has provided that data.
There was no detail provided on configuration and assembly of the pump station behind now in the plaza.
You talking for the plaza, or you talking about?
It's right behind the plaza. It's on the property of the plaza. right behind it.
What it's gonna get hooked to it is a different story, I'm not sure.
I mean, I think it's accounted for in his hydraulic calculations, I believe, but there's no detail in the plans. And one of the things that Jim and Marty and Mark, Clark and I all agree is we should have everything on paper so that when it's being constructed, we have something to go by to say, yes, it was built according to whatever we approved.
And we know our system can handle it down the road.
That's the basic goal.
So I think one of the unknowns here, and I don't know how it comes known until it happens, is you have a shopping plaza that has a certain occupancy today, that's gonna hook up today. You got Lombard Ford, who's gonna hook up, maybe not today, but tomorrow. You have certain Winstead residents, one of whom has said that his 4 or 5 family house, he will hook up tomorrow. Your other residents along that road, could be a year, could be 5 years, it could be 10 years. The housing that we're proposing, we're waiting to hear from the state whether they're gonna give us money so that we can buy the property, so that we can start, you know, so that could be 3 to 5 years. So by putting 2 pipes in the ground, I think one of the things that it was decided was, for example, if the shopping center hooks up and Lombard Ford hooks up, maybe you put the 5 family in that pipe and leave the other one empty until you have sufficient flow so it doesn't go septic. So one of the problems with the laterals is you don't know which pipe is gonna go to which property, and you don't know when that's gonna be hooked up. So when you look at laterals, it's very hard to do laterals today, not knowing whether it's gonna go to pipe A or pipe B, or when you're gonna get the 20 units online, and that would be pipe B, but then you might take some of the Winstead people on the north side into that when they're ready to hook up. So there's some unknowns that you can't avoid today just based on the uncertainties in the timing.
Correct, but still, if they all hook up, let's say 10 years down the line, and I have to put a new pump station in and increase the size of my pipes, let's say for half a mile, it could be very costly for the town.
Well, if it's
I need to know exactly what possible flow would be coming in.
And the pump station's in Barkhamsted, so that's on us.
Yeah, but it's still coming into our system.
So I think the hydraulic calculations should have accounted for 20 houses plus 18 residences plus a shopping center plus Lombard Ford. I think, Dave, that was what you had said.
It's unclear when you look at the plans and the hydraulic calculations. And I think it's imperative that we make sure that the two of them jive together. That's very important. And to John's point, having capacity in the future, these are somewhat complicated creatures to understand. The pipe isn't sized so much for how many houses are hooked up. They're sized on how many pumps can be on at any given time. It's a statistical analysis that the low-pressure sewer designers use. If there's 30 houses, they assume, or and determine through statistics that maybe 7 are on at any given time. If there's 40 houses, maybe it's 8 or 9. So the pipe size doesn't increase dramatically if you add certain properties, because the pumps share capacity. It's a little bit esoteric, but that's the way it works. So I think it's very important to just make sure that the list of properties that are on the plan that can be connected are properly accounted for in the calculations. And that will at least put my mind at rest. Jim and Marty can speak for themselves, but that was one of the things we flagged the other day when we met talking about this. No, it's a pressure, it's based on pressure. I'm gonna get deep in the weeds with engineering here, but the pump curves for low pressure grinder pumps are nearly vertical. So they can operate at different pressures, and deadheading may be somewhat of a misnomer. If 9 pumps are on when the system is designed ideally for 7, then some of the pumps, depending on where they are in the system, will only flow a certain amount, not 0, the way I understand it to work. And so the capacity or the flexibility that you're talking about, George, is in the pumps themselves.
And that, you have the capacity of the chamber, the pump chamber too, to be able to take some of this.
Yes, maybe somebody's alarm goes off because flow is coming in a little bit faster than it can get out, and it hits the high level alarm. But as soon as somebody else's pump shuts off somewhere in the
You
system,
equalize it goes up.
it automatically can push the amount designed, and the alarm will go off when the liquid level drops down. Do you guys, Jim, have any problems with this up at the lake? You don't get complaints about it?
No.
So, in a properly designed system, then the frequency of what you're talking about is very low, and that's what we're trying to achieve here. Let's make sure we know which properties can potentially connect to this line in the future, and make sure that the pipe is sized large enough so that it doesn't cause this high pressure to build up. And to me, it's only a matter of an hour or two talking about it, and making a list, and sending it back to the E1 pump guy, and say, these are the properties we want connected, and here's the amount of flow from each property, gallons per day, and let him figure out how many pumps need to be on at a given time, and then from that, you can determine the pipe size. These pipe sizes are pretty small, 2 inches, 2.5 inches. We might expand it from 2 to 2.5, but let's do that now, and not 10 years from now.
And just going larger is not the answer. You have to take in consideration scouring,
Yeah. The larger you make the pipe, the slower the velocity is, and the longer the sewage stays in the pipe. Turn septic, it'll start to smell when it comes out of Oakdale Ave. Marty's right. And you wanna have, the pipe small enough so that the velocity is high enough to flush out the solids that kind of get trapped along the way.
Don, I do have some sewer regulations highlighted along with the developers agreement and the technical standards. I don't know if you want to take a copy of different points of view that, Jim, you want to pass it?
Forward it down.
You can read through that. As far as the laterals going across the street, I mean, granted, there might be 18 lots on Winstead's side, but I wouldn't mind going with just the laterals to the existing houses rather than all lots, which could be in the future, as long as those future lots are taken into the calculations
Yeah.
of the system size.
Another option, John, would be to just do the long crossovers and leave the short ones, because in many places, this main is on the side of the road, it's not even in the pavement.
That's fine.
So you could leave the short ones off and only do the long ones. There might only be a half dozen of those. So there's room for compromise if the other side is so inclined.
I think that's kind of along the lines that I was thinking.
I mean, it's
The,
a compromise.
get the road crossing ones done now that are on that side. Where the main is off in the dirt, then the easy part is the tap and the connection. That's just a hot tap, that's not a big deal. But, no one's gonna come in with, to bore underneath the road for one connection. And you still have to dig up at the pipe to make your connection. So you're just gonna dig across it. There's just no way you're gonna do that, for one connection. And if they're connecting on, between the road and the main, you need a certain amount of distance to get in there, dig that out, work without disturbing the road. The ones coming from the, if your main is going down the grass, and you got a house further in the grass, all your excavation's off and away from the road. We don't, that's a lot less of a concern. But the ones where you're gonna have to disturb the road, you know, think about the value of what they're taking up valuable real estate in the roads. You know, it's not as valuable on a road like New Hartford Road as it is Case Avenue, where I got water, sewer, gas, you know, electric, cable, drainage. But they're taking up space that can be used for water, sewer, gas, electric, storm drains. And now it's in the way forever. We're fighting it forever, every time we do a drainage project. So it's not like we're not giving up something by accepting this. Yeah, we're getting some customers. But that, I deal with that every day. Utility conflicts are an ongoing problem for everything that we do. So, you know, we haven't charged anything for staff time for this whole entire project. We've been dealing with it for a year. We wasted most of a year trying to tell them to go up the road, and they were off on their own little treasure hunt. So, for us to just, yeah, whatever. You know, we're giving up something by having that in our road. Yeah, we're getting something. I'm not gonna deny that. We're serving our public. But we're losing, you know, we're giving up valuable real estate, the cheapest real estate to develop. You know, we could put something else in that space, but now we can't. It's gonna impact where we can put guide rails. It's, you know, so it's not like we're not giving up something. And I think, you know, preventing us from having to dig up a road for, what, half a dozen or 8 crossovers, you know, if they can't do that, I'm like, come on, really? So, you know, the ones that are easy to get at from the side, yeah, I really don't care if they do a hot tap, that's no big deal. You know, we do that in-house, but that's my position, and quite frankly, we've been telling the developer since day one. I saw some stuff from May where it was, you know, laterals are required, put them in, and they've been put on the sketches that's in our preliminary plan right from the start, and then to pull them out is really gotten under my skin. You know, we've been busting our ass to help make this thing happen, and then to just be nickel and dimed and fed half the information every single opportunity they get, I'm just not inclined to bend. So, that's my piece.
Another disadvantage, John, if I may, is that what will happen is, at some point, Jim is gonna go through and fix that road, and it's gonna be in really good condition. And over time, when houses wanna connect in, they dig into the road and there's a patch. So the pavement, whatever money the town of Winchester invests in pavement, the condition of that road will decline more rapidly if there are trench patches than if it was just a pristine single sheet that can decline uniformly over time. So that's one of the reasons Jim and I were pushing for laterals, is to help keep the road healthy. After the sewer's done, the town can go in and fix the road once and for all, won't have to worry about digging into it piecemeal over the course of the next 10 or 15 years.
And consider when, you know, it's our responsibility, that $1,000 fee, we go out into the road, the sewer department digs, makes the connection, backfills, compacts, and patches. And then if the patches are bad, they have to go back and refix them. So that $1,000 is a loss for us. You know, it takes years and years and years just to gain back the cost of putting them in. And while the site's open and the road's a disaster, now is the time to do it.
I think also it's a little convoluted, you know, there's a difference between a developer's project and a municipal project. I can show you maps from the early 40s, Cafanetty or 50s, where there's sewer, like 263 for instance, there's sewer laterals to every property. Most municipal projects, Dave can correct me if I'm wrong, you're not putting a sewer main out without putting a lateral to any development project, just because it doesn't make sense. Why would you go back and dig up the road to do something you could have done 30 years ago? I mean, the work's done. It makes the property, so any of our residents
gets the calls, what the hell were you doing digging up that road? We just paved it.
So is $36,000 gonna kill this project? Is that what we're talking about here for a half hour? Well, then let's kill it. $36,000. Tell the developer to come up with it. And then there's no more argument, there's no more discussion. $36,000 on a $500,000 project.
And if you just do the road crossing, it's probably half that.
I just,
What I'm telling you is, if you want, part of the approval process is you're gonna have laterals, dictate that. What he's looking for, what I'm looking for today is a go-ahead that says, based on whatever criteria you come up with, that these guys are aware of, put that on the table, and say, the project can go forward if. And if laterals are part of that, dictate that, if the meter on the town line is part of that, dictate that, and we'll go forward.
That's already been dictated. How
I know,
much,
it's in the agreement, that can,
it's already been dictated. We don't need to dictate it again. I mean, if they just supplied what we originally asked for, then you would have been in the ground already.
there's been some confusion, I'll leave it at that.
Okay, fair enough.
But, you know, Dave has 3 pages of comments, like you said, most of which are nuts and bolts. There's 2 or 3 critical issues, laterals and meter. And if you can make a motion to approve the project going forward based on these guys checking the box, what has been provided meets your criteria, that's what I'm asking for. We're gonna agree to disagree on the laterals, and I wanna put that aside. The timing right now is very important.
Huh?
Not just at 7:30.
No, so,
you need a motion?
well, or discussion, motion, whatever. I mean, he's asking for either approval or disapproval of having Jim and Dave
And-
make
and
the
you would-
final say. That's it.
Provided it includes 3 items. Laterals are included, the flow meter issues are resolved, and the hydraulic calculations are taken care of to Dave and Jim's satisfaction.
What was the last one, to Dave and Jim's satisfaction?
Hydraulic calculations to make sure the sewer has the capacity for future, what were we talking about? That was my notes, right there. You had 3 items.
Yeah, I think the way you first phrased it is probably appropriate, the hydraulic calculations are to our satisfaction.
Hydraulic calculations to make sure the sewer has the capacity.
Plus the balance of what Dave had written in his letter.
Yes,
What was the?
plus the balance of what Dave had in his letter.
I'll second that.
Wow.
I'm just waiting for it to catch up. You caught up now?
Yes, sir.
All right. The only point I'd make is if a special meeting is needed for a final acceptance or approval, you two can make that decision, and if you want some input,
So if we could work out the details over the next 5 days or something.
well, that's the
we can
motion.
do-
We just have to take a vote. Motion is seconded. All those in favor of Tim's motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
So that's conditional approval, with a final vote to be taken after these guys say it's okay.
Well, these guys say it's okay, put a shovel in the ground. If they need us to see the drawings or they have a question for us to make a decision on, then a special meeting will need to be called, is the way I see it.
If you get them to agree, you're done, you got it.
Okay. So what was asking?
Okay?
We can agree to disagree.
I want you to leave happy.
You want me to be happy?
I want you to leave happy. There's a big difference.
You're reported at your town manager, I'm trying not to get burned out. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hey, Jim, set it up as soon as you can, let's get it done. As soon as it's being, I'll find a way to be there and get Denise and the engineers there.
Okay.
Thank you.
Now we'll face the next fire spot.
Tell them you need an extra 30 grand.
I'm sorry, that was a long time for a small amount of money.
So did you all get the letter from David today? I forwarded?
Yeah.
Yes.
And you got the sewer regs that were highlighted along with the developers agreement? I forwarded to everybody?
Just today, this one came?
Which, thank you, Jim, that was great.
Yeah, it
I
was,
appreciate that.
yeah, it was, I just wanted to make sure we were aware of all of that stuff.
Yeah, oh, there's a lot to it, I mean,
There is.
serious.
It's in an email.
It's not just throwing
No,
shit
I got it.
Okay, I didn't.
So does anybody,
I just had enough time to read it and jag it, yeah.
so does anybody have any questions that they want to ask Dave in particular while he's here, on this 3-page, review letter?
Well, my main concern is the pump station, the design, and what's gonna be involved as far as the flow goes.
Well,
I know you said the size of the pump and the different, the meters, you know,
you know, they threw a lot of information at it, but we don't know exactly what's where, and a lot of these, you know, which model pump they're gonna use and everything. And we just wanted it articulated on the plan. I believe it to be, you know, it's a critical component of the whole low-pressure sewer system, so I know it's accounted for somewhere in this, in the calculations, but it's difficult to see that, and, we just wanna clarify. And it's just gonna be a manhole that's converted into a low-pressure pump station, probably gonna have dual pumps in it, I would imagine. All the gravity sewers from the plaza are gonna connect into it, and all of the, and Lombard Ford is gonna connect into it. So it's just a manhole with 2 grinding pumps in it, instead of replacing the vessel. That's the way I understand it, that basically.
Yeah, I don't know if Lombard Ford gets connected directly to the low pressure meter or if it goes into that pump to be repumped.
it looked like on the drawings that he's getting right to the main, not to the
Okay.
pump station.
Yeah, that would make sense to me, but I don't remember
And the
exactly.
pump station was weird because on the drawings it stated that it's for future reference and future hookups. Well, the plaza is not a future hookup, it's basically hooked up. You got both ends of the plaza being operated right now,
Yeah.
so it's like, what do you mean future? But that's what I was reading into it, but.
Well, the other thing is, I've been on a lot of projects that everything was clearly specified, and everything looked wonderful, everybody approves it, and then you go out in the field and somebody's not paying attention to what goes in the ground. So if we don't have that aspect of it covered,
That aspect's covered in the agreement that, developers agreement and the sewer regs that Jim
So
was
the-
kind enough to highlight for us.
So that's a question I have for you too. So as far as the technical stuff, I think me, Dave, Bart, and Marty can work out the technical aspects of all of this with them. It's really the less technical stuff, the more, you know, the stuff like you know, where we want the flow meters, where we, you know, that we do want the laterals, that we, you know, that we know what's being connected, who's, you know, which pipes are doing what, that kind of stuff. That I will probably, when we come to an agreement, at least shoot it to you via email, just so you know exactly where we're at. May not require an extra meeting, but I at least want you to know those. So you are 100% adamant that they are gonna have a flow meter at the town line, at or near the town
There
line?
will be a flow meter, yes.
Okay,
I'm not gonna try to calculate the flow from possibly 30 different meters. I mean, that's, just doesn't make sense. Yes?
Gotta back up a little bit. Wasn't Tim's motion a flow meter
Correct,
in the lateral, so
Correct.
that's not up for discussion anymore?
correct.
Okay,
It never, well, the meter was always in the agreement.
I understand that,
The laterals were kind of iffy, because
Yeah,
they
but not
weren't in the
anymore.
agreement, but they were on the drawings.
these
And
guys aren't gonna talk about that because it's a done deal.
the only difference is, we're kind of leaning towards just laterals across the road to the existing homes, not to the lots that may be buildable in the future.
I'm gonna expand upon that just a touch. Laterals that are gonna involve pavement disruption.
Whatever you two come up with, I mean,
Yeah.
we put it in your ballpark, so.
We talked about all the laterals.
Right.
Wouldn't it make more sense to put them all in now and dictate where people can hook up in the future?
Well, the ones on the side of the road that are already in the dirt, basically, we're gonna have to dig in, you know, they're gonna have to dig to put the line in anyways, it's just a hot
Yeah, that's,
tap, so it's
and
not,
for them to put in the actual tap right now is, it's not even worth the effort, really.
All righty.
But yeah, the ones across the road, that's really the one that just makes no sense to not do. And for him to nitpick about that, really,
Well, we decided we're not going to, so now you tell us exactly what you need, and you, in fact, you can make the agreement, it's there, if you get what you
So
want.
at most now, it'd be maybe 20 grand.
right,
Which, this is peanuts.
0.5%.
Yeah.
so I got copies of, Don's letter concerning the laterals that he submitted. David's letter today and the specifications, if anybody needs copies, I've already printed them out. If you don't wanna print them out at home, or you want some paperwork for the, John.
I'll take at least one.
Okay. I gather Bruce isn't coming?
Yeah, I just go up and get him when I just knew we were doing this first.
Alright, vac truck, still no,
Just got an email yesterday, mid to late October.
Thanks, Dave.
okay. Thank you, David.
Thanks, Dave.
Thanks, Dave.
Call him Marty.
No, not intentionally.
How are we doing with the sewer plant furnace?
The requisition for that went out today. The bid came back, I think on Thursday, and, they set up the account number today. So I wrote the rec, we should get the PO tomorrow, and that's, West State for, a little, like $5,000 less than we budgeted.
It was what, 65 or something?
Yeah, I think it came to like 60, 56, I think it was,
Do we have a time?
ASAP.
What,
Yeah.
yeah, but it'll be
We
done by
haven't-
Thanksgiving, or?
Don't know, I haven't gotten that far yet.
Was the sludge pump ever,
Yep.
received and installed? That's done?
Complete and done, installed, working beautifully.
Pump station 8, landscaping finally done?
All done.
All done.
Landscaping's done, we're still waiting on an invoice on that.
And I saw in the
Okay.
paper Brookside's,
This is,
gonna be done
this
next
is
week?
the Water and Sewer Commission call.
Done next week, won't be done next week.
I thought it was,
Yeah.
We just
the
started
paper-
installing this week.
All right,
yeah.
The install began this week, so
Yep.
we'll run into a bunch of rock there, so.
Thanks.
Digging is like, but hopefully, we'll see.
well, it said the 25th, so that'd be a week from this Friday.
A
Yep.
week from this Friday.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's what the paper said, I'm not
Main
sure.
should be up and running,
Yeah.
Okay.
so,
Yeah, again, we hit some much tougher digging than we thought, so maybe the 25th is optimistic, but it seemed pretty reasonable the other day.
Marty, you got something about the water main, 165 Torringford Road? Or Jim, or,
did you have any more?
I didn't grab them.
I got copies if you need.
It's a plan that we need to look at, but at any rate, 165 Torringford Road, so basically, we have there. We have plans there?
I think I should have, I don't know.
I can be back in like 3 minutes with them.
Why don't you do that?
Yeah,
Let me-
that's
let
it
me grab-
there.
I got a full-size set.
Yeah.
So basically, there's a little sticking point on there, if you go quickly, we had the meeting, we went down with Rob Colabella, who drew up some plans on, what Mr. Pagano wanted to do. He's the owner of the property. So if you pull into the DMV parking lot off of, Torringford Road, there's a right-of-way right there, as you pull on, that's part of his right-of-way, which 500 feet, and that's where our main runs right now, that's servicing DOT. properties on the other side of his property, Canavo's property, and there's a couple other businesses down there, which may in time want that main to go through all the way to their property. So, walked it with Bart and Jim, and just made some suggestions, to Rob that he had brought to Mr. Paganelli about, you know, granting an easement to the abutter, 35-foot easement through the property, so that future expansion of the water system will be simpler. And then running the main all the way across his property would be advantageous to us, and that we could put an auto flusher. We want an auto flusher on the end of that line so that we can flush the line. And there's a swale that's a relatively flat piece of ground, so the swale would make it easier for us to discharge the auto flusher. Having said that, we have some plans here. He was not overly receptive to that.
Paganelli was not.
Paganelli was not overly receptive to it at the beginning, which is understandable. So why would I give somebody a free, basically a free easement through his property? And if he were to lay the main now, his entire property isn't plotted out. He has room for another parcel. He may want to put another building there someday, and he'd be kind of, it'd behoove him to put the main through and then to hand it himself. He may not be able to put the building where he wants to, you know. So he would really like to just bring the property, or the 8-inch main to his property line against our wishes, you know, what we would like to see happen, Jim and I and Bart. Having said that,
Yeah, having said that, it's not that big a deal for us if it gets us, you know, another 500 feet closer to Torrington Line, which is kind of the end of our service area. The maintenance on an 8-inch ductile iron main down there in sandy soils, pretty much nothing except flushing, which we already have to do to clean up that end of the pipe anyway. So costs to us are really nothing. If he ever wants to develop it through that property and open it up to other properties, that way we've got access to development on that side of the river without having to cross it at every, which is a very expensive thing to have to do. So, you know, it's a baby step in the right direction. I don't really see a downside to it. I'd certainly prefer to run it across that property where we could put the auto flusher in the best possible location, but I think that'll come in time. You just move the auto flusher when he extends the main. So I don't really see a downside to doing it.
So I'm confused, which way are you going now? You going across the property line or down, which way are you
He's
going?
going between DOT, garage and DMV building, right down that paved right-of-way, and ending right where his property starts, about 20 feet in, I think, or 40 feet in is what he's proposing.
So not according to the drawing that you sent out the other day?
according to this drawing, I think this is the one that we're gonna ask you guys.
Yeah, this is the one. So if you look at this, it'll show you exactly.
What this is. I know it smells like cigarettes. Somebody
So
smoked
here,
it.
basically, the Department of Motor Vehicle, DOT garage, state DOT garage.
This is the driveway in.
Here's the fence, chain link fence, this is all the DOT parking. This is where a main comes down through. He just wants to tap this, he's gonna put a valve in here, do whatever we wanna do here, and run it to here, which is what, 500 feet, Jim, is that what we said? Something like 500 feet. But at any rate, it makes a good point. Ideally, what we would see, what we would wanna see is this run clear through to the other end of this property.
Which is another
Discharge.
500 feet.
Another 500
project, and we're talking about going down Route 800.
That's where you could build a firehouse and everything else.
Yeah, exactly, but I've got, you know, I mean, this is important for our future development, that whole 800
And
corridor.
again, let's just say for the sake of argument, somebody did put a 12-inch main all the way down there to do some big development. We keep running this one.
You don't have that, yeah, you don't have that.
So if you had a problem, you always have, so there's, again, I
Then you
don't
gotta
see-
move, yeah.
Right, I don't see a downside.
No, I agree. I didn't
No,
know.
if anything, I mean, it's certainly beneficial for us, right? Just like this is beneficial for us. We get an auto flusher, we can purge the line all the way back to,
Partly because
Farm.
DOT is giving us the picture time putting an auto flusher on their property. Only because
Something the bargain is about.
so I guess what we want to do is just approve or give us permission to approve it. Right, we'll work with him, but if this plan seems acceptable to you guys, just give Jim and I, because it has, we have to give him a permit, you know, to go ahead and start the digging, which he wants to do, he definitely wants to.
he's going by the book. He's got his lawyers, his engineers, that, you know, they're contacting us about easements.
Well, this is, you know, back
They-
to construction.
they've been-
This is what he does for work.
Yeah.
They've been right on the money.
Yeah.
So basically, doesn't care what she's building.
So is there a specific plan number or reference number, since you said we're gonna go by this plan?
Well, this is the draft, you know, first draft.
How specifically identify the plan you're using?
But they need our project doing. It was different than the drawings.
Breathman or Candy?
This would be water service design site plan
I know. Everybody is. Except me.
for 165.
All right, Bruce.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Phone until Sunday. I don't need to. I'm gonna work part-time for my boss here. He asked me to do 15 hours a week. Okay. Thank you very much.
I'm just trying to think what I, is the most specific way
Yeah,
to.
no, that's good.
Those plans still like the state of Savage.
So would someone like to make a motion to give Jim and Marty,
I'll make a motion, we give Jim and Marty permission to okay that sewer main extension on between Moore Vehicle and DMV to the property owned by
The sewer main extension or
Hang
water?
on.
water main? Water main.
Water,
I'll second
sorry,
the motion.
water main. Water main.
It's 165 Torrington Road.
Torrington Road.
Torrington Road.
Older Lake.
Jerry bagging on, but I don't know if that's,
Eggs.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Motion carried.
Unanimous?
Yes.
Okay, if I come up there, see somebody from you?
Yes, but I might slap you, but go ahead, come on.
We'll make it arm reach.
I got short arms.
Just don't sit on his lap.
Sit the same if you want.
If you want, okay, let's do that.
So I've given you 3 handouts. Let's go to the one with the shaded blue for the water. This is the results of the water fund against budget for the 2 months ending August 31. %, of the fiscal year. So this was our collection, August was the collection month for the first billing. and we've done pretty well. We've collected $392,000 against $348,000 last year. Although on the past due, we're not doing as well. Overall, we're at 21% of the budget compared to 19% last year at this time. We've collected, revenues are $400,000 compared to $391,000 last year at this time. Going to page 2 and page 3, total departments are, well within where we'd expect them to be. Marty's Waterworks Department is at 14% of budget. The Crystal Lake plant's at 6% of budget. Admin's at 22% of budget, mostly because we paid municipal insurance and workers' comp insurance we make one payment in July for the full year. And the Water Commission department's at 5% of budget. Total overall, we're at 13% of budget on expenditures, totaling $248,000 compared to $250,000 last year at this time. So again, it's very comparable. I don't have any recommendations for any line item transfers at this point. I will point out that second line from the top on page 2, you'll see that we've recorded $3,120 in intern and temp help. That was your intern, 4 weeks of your intern. Now, it's my understanding that the scholarship fund is supposed to, fund that. So we could, should I send you a billing, Marty, so that?
Yeah, we're gonna split off that went back in the minutes, but I don't forget how the split was. You guys were commission was gonna split the cost of the intern.
I think they were gonna just pick up the cost of the insurances associated with
What's in the minutes? I've got the minutes all in the file, so
Okay.
I'll go with that.
Yeah, let me know what
I will.
I need to send you so that we can get revenue to cover
Yep.
the portion that the scholarship fund's gonna do, okay? On the back, page 4, you see that the operating account has for the water fund has a balance of $773,000. Going to the sewer fund, which is the green shaded 3 pages. Again, doing pretty well for the current water rents. Collected $326,000 in the first 2 months compared to $288,000 last year at this time. We're a little bit behind on past due sewer rents, which is line 705. But I think a lot of this is related to the COVID thing. Our investment income in both funds is down substantially from where we were last year at this time. The rates are just no good. No good rates. So I don't see us making the budget this year on that. If we do, that means something bad is happening because we would be getting much higher rates and that would spell trouble for us elsewhere. Russ Septic, no collections this month. The balance is still outstanding, is $3,290. Flipping over to page 2. Sanitation plants at 10% of the budget. Pumping station department is at 12% of the budget. WPCA is at 16% of the budget, and debt administration is at 15% of the budget. Overall, we're at 13% of the budget compared to 13% last year at this time, almost exactly the same amount of expenditures this year versus last year. So again, I don't have any recommended adjustments on the expenditures or line item transfers. I will tell you is that we have collected some past due rents from Santoro's Clean Years, about 4,000 both for water and 4,000 for sewer. That goes through the marshal who has the collection, the tax warrant for that, for those collections. So he's taking his 15%, but we have seen that, so, a little bit. So, the balance, let's see, page 5 gives you the sewer fund cash balance of $180,000. And on the back of that page, you see that the savings account for both funds is at $1,146,934, and that's split evenly between the two funds. Now, I have a proposal. I'd like the endorsement of the commission to withdraw $300,000 of the sewer funds savings account balance and transfer to the operating account. And we would do that by just getting the $300,000 from the water, and have the water fund deposit $300,000 in the savings account, because it's got an excess balance. It's got almost $900,000. The reason for doing that is that we have to make the payment on the truck, which will be here in weeks. And that's gonna be about $240,000 from each fund. And you can see that the sewer fund doesn't have that balance. And it's,
So we're going to pay the truck off 100%?
yeah. Yeah. We're getting nothing. We're getting very little in terms of return on that savings account balance, and the lease rates are at 5% and 6% for a capital lease. So it makes no sense to incur interest fees when we're not getting any benefit from the value of our cash.
What exactly would that leave in the sewer?
So,
It won't leave the 573, that's.
no, so I'm gonna refer to this statement here, okay? This shows you the cash balances, operating cash balances going back to January of 19 in both funds. And I've highlighted the low balance in each quarter. And that corresponds with the billing month in each quarter, because we collect during that month, but the money goes into a town bank account at Webster Bank, and then we transfer the following month the money from the Webster Bank into the water and sewer bank accounts. So the low point in each quarter is the billing month. And you can see that if you look at the water, February 19 we were at 270,000. 3 months later we were up to 362. 3 months later 458. Then 510, 611, 717, 772. The water fund is building cash, okay? Because the rates are sufficient to cover all the costs and then provide for the capital requirements. Conversely, the sewer fund started off in February 19 at 375. 3 months later, it's at 250. 253, 3 months later, 230, 254, 144, and now at August 20, it's only got 180,000 in it. And this is because the sewer fund, the sewer rates are not sufficient to cover all the operating costs. And then we have this expenditure that's coming up for both funds related to the vacuum truck, which will require $240,000 from each fund. So that's why I'm recommending that the commission approve withdrawing $300,000 from the sewer fund's savings account, putting it in the operating account to make that payment and to boost the fund a little bit, the operating balance a little bit. But also that the water fund take $300,000 and put it into the savings fund, just so that it would get some kind of return. And the way that I spoke about this with our treasurer is that we basically just have the water fund transfer $300,000 from its operating account to the sewer fund, and the sewer fund would transfer $300,000 of its balance in the savings fund to the water fund. So it'd be a wash in terms of, both funds would retain the same amount of cash at the end of the transfer that they had before the transfer. So,
20 years ago, we had a big to-do in town about stealing one from the other, not stealing, borrowing, never keeping it quite right. So this is just gonna be,
this isn't a borrowing.
no, it's just
This
a
is
switch in
just-
actual cash going back.
We're
and
just
forth.
moving, we're withdrawing cash from the savings account for the sewer fund, and the water fund is putting cash into the savings account in the same amount.
Of the water fund.
Water fund, yeah.
Okay.
The water fund will then have 873,000 in the savings account, and the sewer fund will have 273,000.
Now I understand. I was on the same tack that you were on.
It's not a borrowing, it's
Took me a
just,
while, 'cause it just,
Yeah.
we were all here for that.
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
It was ugly.
Well, now the sewer fund has got, what, 573 in it now?
No. Well, yes, in the savings account, yes.
Savings account?
Yes.
Is that the one you were talking about, taking the 200,000 out of?
Well, it's essentially, 300,000 from
From that?
reducing its savings account balance by 300,000.
And then we were taking $200,000 for the,
Vacuum truck?
no,
No, the capital,
Just the
the
operating
projects.
no, that's just one project. That's, what band
The
is
other,
that?
the other projects we were doing.
To sweep the, lint and everything else out of the sewer.
Steps.
You mean a step
Thank
screen?
you.
The step
Step screen and then $75,000 for the furnace, so basically the sewer fund would be zero. Pretty close to it.
It would pretty much exhaust
But
all
now I
those
thought we
remaining
were taking
savings.
that money that we were gonna apply to capital projects and make a line item in the budget, which I don't see. I thought we were gonna make a budget line item for all the capital projects, and then you were gonna pick the money out of that line item to pay for the capital projects.
It's the transfer to, in the budget, let me find
I don't see it in the budget line item anywhere, that's why I'm getting
Okay,
confused.
hold on. Okay, WPCA account, this is on page 3,
You on water or sewer?
sewer.
Okay.
And water? Yeah, on sewer. Yeah. Page 3, Department 317, 4 lines up from the bottom in that department, there's a $181,000 transfer from this year's budget
Okay.
into the, what I call water and sewer, capital improvement fund. So this year's budget will put 181,000 in there, and there's already, money from, the fiscal 20 budget that we moved into there.
Which is part of the savings account?
Savings account, yeah.
So that's gonna come out of savings to go into that basically line item.
Yeah.
So technically, it's not really savings.
Well, no, well,
already-
you would put it in, and then it would be in the savings account, and then you'd use it to spend for these projects.
Right, but, okay. Well, it's confusing, because technically, I got 275,000 I've already spent this year on those 2 line items, but yet I only got 181 in the line item budgeted.
No, that 273 is, that's right, that's the budget for the capital
Just a
improvement
step-
expenditures.
Well, that's just a step screen in the furnace,
Yeah,
not including the other items that were on the.
right.
But yet, there's only 181 in the capital improvement fund in the budget.
That's this year's operating contribution to the capital
But shouldn't
improvement
we
fund.
take the
You have prior year,
100,000 out of savings and put it in there, so it's 281? So I know I've got those 2 projects.
no, you're
covered.
talking, that's,
That's why I'm getting confused.
Yeah,
'cause
okay,
if you don't
no.
if we don't keep track of it, we're gonna say we got 300 in the savings and then spend it and forget that we already spent it.
right.
Which is what
So-
I've done before. So I don't wanna do
I understand.
here.
I was speaking cash in terms of the bank accounts.
Okay.
That's just so that we can cover the cost of the vacuum truck when it gets delivered
Any day now.
any day now.
Well, October, mid to late October.
Oh, it's late October?
Mid to late October, he
And
said.
I'm late, right? When they say mid to late, they don't have to say mid. You just say mid.
Okay, I heard it was just weeks away, a couple weeks ago.
That's what we heard.
And then,
Okay, well, we don't then have to do this transfer this week. We can keep it for a little while, but I was just trying to prep so that we could pay for the truck when it gets delivered.
Which is fine, I just don't wanna lose track of where we're
Okay,
going with
Does
it.
it make
No.
any sense to wait?
we can wait.
I know, does it make any sense to wait?
Well, you're not losing that much money, but you may as well have the sewer fund
All right.
earn something.
So instead of losing $10, we make $10.
Okay, so what you're saying is if we did this in
Just thought
October,
about that with Barkhamsted.
we'd still be able to, I mean, we wouldn't be behind the 8 ball. Or you can approve it today, and I can wait until we have to deliver the truck.
Well, I'd rather
Before we
approve
do
it today, so if it comes in early
Yeah.
for some
Yeah.
reason, you've already got permission to
Yeah.
do it, and it's
Okay.
all done. I mean, that's,
Yeah.
That's what I was-
No, you bring up a good point, John. I owe you an analysis on the capital projects every month, and I didn't get that done today.
I like to
No,
keep
and
track.
no, you're
confused.
you're right, and we're talking, when I have to distinguish between the cash movement and the actual appropriations and the budget, so.
Motion to
Make the motion.
allow Bruce to move the
So,
monies accordingly.
Lori, this is what it'd be, to transfer $300,000 from, the sewer fund savings account to the operating account, to its operating account. And at the same time, to transfer $300,000 from the water fund's operating account to the savings account.
Water funds.
Water fund saving account.
The water fund savings account to the water fund's operating account.
I thought it was water fund operating to savings.
Yeah,
Thank you. Okay.
Yeah, it's water fund operating to savings and sewer fund savings to operating.
Yep.
Okay.
I'll second the motion.
Do we have a motion? Do we have a second?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Unanimous.
Well, you made that sound so simple.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I'm reeling today.
Okay, but, this schedule is just a reminder that, that we need to address the sewer fund, rates.
That's a good way to express it.
Yeah. Finally, I have 2 releases of sewer assessment liens for you to approve, because they've been paid off. One is, at 714 West Wakefield Boulevard. And the other is at 628 East Wakefield Boulevard. So,
That's just releases, which,
they've paid off the sewer assessment
that make it
in total, and this removes the liens from the land records.
reissue the releases of both of those.
I'll second the motion.
Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Approved unanimous.
So if you'd sign those, then then we will get them processed in the land records.
If you sign them, he'll either be happy or he'll leave happy. We don't care.
Thanks. Just a note on the Santoro cleaners, you should see those in the September, those payments will show up in the September statements. Lastly, so I have pulled together quite a few of the documents I need to put together on the Crystal Lake tank upgrade and the water main replacements for the Drinking Water State Revolving Fund. And I sent over some requests for some additional information.
Today?
No, last week, about they want, some data that I just don't have.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
I don't have any
Yes,
knowledge of
that's
that.
gonna be tough to put together, but we'll figure it out.
Okay, so I just want to remind you, I think Bart said that that's due either this week or next week or something like that. They asked for budget information but they wanted to know the impact of these projects on costs going forward, and I don't have a good handle on it.
Yeah, that's, the whole point of it is to save money going forward, not to spend more, so it's, and I don't know if that's what they're trying to get at, or.
Well, I think you might be able to look at what would be, based on your knowledge of, happened the last 5 years, of where there's water main breaks and the cost of doing a short repair of a water main break, or what's the impact of the new tanks, the 2 new tanks? Well, if we have a fire on the east side of town, how do we manage that without the new tank and those costs, that kind of thing? Or what does the new tank do in terms of,
Conceptually, it's not hard, but to quantify it, that's.
we'll make best guess estimates, just like it's somewhere in the ballpark.
Okay.
I think to give them something. That's all I have, John.
Well, Bruce, I'm sorry to see you go.
But is there any questions, any other questions? I mean, is there any data I can get you, additional data that would help you with the sewer rate thing?
No, we're just gonna have to decide on what we wanna do. You want a bond, you want an increase, we're gonna have to do something moving forward, so.
I think
might as
that,
well discuss.
I think also, if you can look at we've talked about the capital projects for the sanitation plant and Moore Avenue pumping station. But if you look out 5 years, okay, because these rates are gonna have to kind of build the reserve for what you wanna do over the next 5 years for the sewer system. I don't know if the INI study you haven't done yet, but you know that you've got major repairs to do there, and so these rates are gonna have to help you do that.
How many miles of line are you guys doing? So we should get at least somewhat of a reasonable idea of cost per mile, so we can just use that as a number,
Yeah.
as an estimate.
Yeah. Okay.
Do we have any debt administration coming off in the next 5 years?
Yeah, in the sewer fund, you have, I think there's 2 years left on some major.
Major debt?
So you do have, I mean, you're gonna have some, where is that? Some debt service capacity. Right now, your budget for debt service is about $240,000. Okay, so that's gonna give you an opportunity to, do some borrowing, without necessarily a rate increase, but, I mean, one of the nice things about the water fund right now is you can do some, substantial, projects that might be a couple $100,000 just by funding it internally. You don't have to go out and borrow. And so that's the nice thing that's happening in the water fund. You did the South Main Street problem, you took care of that internally. Brookside is happening internally, Overlook happened internally. That's all great. You can do, a pretty substantial project and finance it internally. So,
Well, thank you, Bruce.
all right, I'm going to take my leave unless there's something else on the agenda that
Nothing, anybody have
I need
anything
to-
for? No? No?
okay?
Have a good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Always enlightening.
Director's report.
Thought I didn't print it again. So a lot of this we've already talked about, pump station 8. I just got a call today, somebody wanting to kind of revive the sewer main on Cary Avenue. Remember we put out a questionnaire, we only got 4 people interested in. Somebody is interested in buying one of the houses that really needs to connect. And so I talked with her a little bit, so I told her to, contact the contractor, get an estimate, just a ballpark estimate. I would meet with the contractor, tell him kind of what we're looking at, as a minimum requirement, and then she'll decide how much, she wants to negotiate with the seller. So might be something happening on that. One thing, just
Now, the Cary, would that bypass anybody else's property?
it would go,
Which would automatically
It would
make
go-
them responsible to hook up if they're septic.
the people right next to them are already hooked up with a private line that goes all the way to Wakefield Boulevard. Yeah, if it was simple,
Okay.
anybody could do it. So, yeah, I'll have to figure out how to negotiate that.
But that would be part of this.
So
It-
what
it
happens
is-
now is this house goes right through the house that's connected to Wakefield Boulevard. And the person that bought the house that is connected isn't gonna sign the easement for this person to run through, so forcing them to, and,
Yeah,
yeah,
okay.
so, and then something just want to, just to bring to your attention, and Marty, I didn't really have time to follow up with you on this one, but Sentinel Services, that's the insurance people that people buy for their water and sewers. We got a complaint from a resident that bought the insurance and made a call, and the amount that they were charging for the line seemed excessively high. Have you had any further conversation with them?
No.
Okay.
No,
I'm
I left it with her to call me if she had an issue. Yeah.
Okay, I think I'm gonna touch base with her if I can get that contact info, but I just wanted to let you know this is the first time we know of that the service has been used and this person thought it was unreasonable, and just a quick glance from my position, it does seem like they were charging way too much. I would have thought the repair would have been a lot less, but they're saying it's $7,000. They pay the first $5,000.
Right.
I think the repair was more like a $2,000 repair.
Who did the repair?
I'm not even sure yet. So, but I just at least wanted to let you know, just in case you heard something through the grapevine, that we are aware of it and we just haven't had time to look at it. It just came in the other day, so. This, the Sodero asset management software is, been installed. We're very, very slowly starting to work with it. Today was the date that we gave those with 0 meter reads that wouldn't get their equipment fixed with, we had 6 different attempts to contact them. So we told them, and finally the state moratorium on shut-offs ended. So we jumped right on it. We didn't want to wait till they reinstituted it. And we had at least 3 people today make good on, opening things up when they knew that today was a shut-off day. So that's about the only thing that matters. So hopefully it continues, and we started marking off, the shut-off valves. And so when people see that coming, it caught their attention. So we're happy to be working on those problematic accounts.
Will they just shut off the other 3?
I think there was more than that. Well, we're gonna get to it. As soon as we mark them off, the people have been calling in. So, yeah. the
Well, we'll
next
mark
step
them
is-
all off and start shutting them down.
If we weren't working on 50 other things, we would, but yeah, but it's working, that's the important thing. I think we touched on Brookside already, right, that,
Correct.
they started on Monday, they should be done.
Yeah, Marty said he'd be done next week.
Yeah. Early next week.
By Friday. We know there are no more rocks in the ground, so through the rock.
Sure.
So, Overlook Road is done. The only thing left, we'll get some invoices for the milling and paving where we had to go back out into the street to cover the sins from our, that was for the sewer connection, or was that the water connection?
For the water.
For the water connection. And then, we're still, still moving forward with the emergency operation plan and the update to the water supply plan. Other than that, there's nothing really new happening. We got some step screen proposals, and we're working on turning, the boiler, we talked about that already. So the step screen is really the big issue that we're working on right now, is writing up taking the data we want from the three proposals and turning that into an actual bid document. So I went through it, highlighted everything, and I'm meeting with Alex tomorrow morning to go over, make sure that his understanding of it is the same as mine, so we know how we want to write it. So that's,
Now, the step screen, you're gonna have to put another outbuilding on the property in order to maintain a pump and.
well, different
Heater.
different proposals are proposing different things. The one proposal that we got for the external, step screen with its own containment building makes the most sense. They really thought it through, and the other two were internal ones, and I'm not sure how they're gonna handle some of the issues that the other company brought up. The reason they pushed it outside is because of just the way the piping runs and the room you have to work it. It's really a much better system outside. So, yeah, I like that design a lot. It's got a nice, efficient opportunity for a bypass, which the inside ones would be really horrific to make that happen. So, so that's what we're leaning towards. There might be somebody out there with a different system that, can work inside the building, but from the three that we've gotten, the outside one with the other building, it was the least amount of money, and it was, what looked like the best design from our standpoint. So that's gonna really be the guiding document. But you wanna, the art to that is trying to be not so specific that you make it, only one person can,
Do it.
So we gotta kind of dumb down the details of the one we liked, so that everybody can consider it, but, or find ways, to communicate that they're doing the same thing in a different way. So that's where it gets hard. So, but that's, tomorrow morning's, I think it's tomorrow morning's process or project.
Also, out of the three, the one we like the best is the cheapest one.
Yeah,
And they gave a price on it, not a bid, but a price.
To get the system done.
I do have to go through that. I need Alex's input. If I read that right, there was a clause at the end about some stuff that wasn't included. So I just gotta make sure he and I are reading it the same way. So it may not have been the least expensive, but yeah, that was a 60-page proposal, so there was a lot.
The other one was free.
Yeah,
This guy
yeah, it's,
that Alex is leaning to explained an awful lot to him, spent the whole day there, I guess.
yeah, really did.
Measuring things and doing things. Went out of his way to
And
give us the right.
typically, you only find that with vendors that are confident in their product.
Yep.
The other guys just throw it out there hoping it sticks. But again, that's what the bid process is for, is to weed that out. It's just, takes a lot of work to get to that final bid. But we're hoping to have it ready to go when Douglas gets back from vacation, so. And my, compliments to Mark Douglas, he's on vacation, and he still has handled a couple of bid projects from his computer and got us some purchase orders for these things that are time sensitive on his own time, so just wanna give a heads up to him for that. That's all I got.
Okay, old business, sewer plant bridge repair next year,
Yep.
if all goes well. State revolving fund update projects.
Yeah, the next thing we gotta do is get those, that data to Bruce about, what he was asking for about the cost.
The update, cost. National Register of Historic Places, still waiting, or?
I emailed them again today to find out where, what the status was. I didn't have a reply before, but let me take a really quick look, see if something came in. Nope.
Dam repair, USD funding? We're
That's
waiting for
all-
national, it's all tied together?
it's really one,
Yep.
that could be one line item for all talking purposes.
Water regulations to accept density poly.
Yeah, we just haven't had time for that one.
We have a few things that we're talking about, when we do pilot someone, we might as well do it, we had spoke about that, we might as well just do it all at once in one fell swoop.
Oh, you already have some in the ground, right?
Excuse me?
We already have some in the ground.
Yeah, we have some in the ground.
And under bridges.
Yeah, I just don't want a developer to come in and say, listen, you've already done it, so you can't say no. If we have some regulations as far as.
They have.
No, but I can't really stop them because it's already in the ground. I mean, it's been done by us, but we kind of set a precedence that
Sure.
is acceptable.
Absolutely, yep.
I mean, if we do it, it's gotta be acceptable for a developer to do it. Provided he uses the same type of product. I mean, I don't
Yeah.
think you get away with
You're correct, we need to do
So-
that.
Yeah.
tree
We need to do-
harvesting.
We need to do tree harvesting too, but I'm just not doing it. Just, no time.
MIUs.
Again, we had the success today with three more, but I didn't get an updated list. I don't really think much has changed.
Any new business?
The superintendent of the Norfolk Sewer District informed me to let these guys know that they appreciate them. It's nice to have some nice neighbors when you get into a little pinch at 8 o'clock at night or even the next day, that you can count on your neighboring gentleman down the road. So, thank you, gentlemen, for helping me out.
That was a really weird manhole cover you needed.
Yes, it was.
We only had like 2 of them.
Yes,
So,
and it actually fit perfect, and it's gonna stay in the road, so.
excellent,
So
excellent.
it's very much appreciated.
Well, all the utilities in the area really do help each
Yes.
other out, so it's,
It's mutual aid with the fire department, and mutual aid
Yeah.
with the sewer department.
yeah, it was a pleasure to help you.
We appreciate it.
Any other new business?
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? All opposed? 2 in favor, 3 opposed. We're gonna start.
Hey, Tim? Tim, thanks for making the second on the minutes for August 11th, because George abstained.
Okay,
Okay.
sounds good. I actually made a motion today. It's been a few years since I've done that.
Really?
I don't know, you seem to be on your game now, Tim.
Something substantial.
He sees a light at the tunnel, that's the end of the tunnel, that's what his
I'm
problem
hoping
is.
Don didn't take that the wrong way. No, I'm not gonna make you happy, but you can leave happy, just.
Yes.
I mean, there's no reason why Brockhampton can't kick something in too to get.
No, it's.
I mean, they're gonna
That's gonna be your holdup, fine.
they're gonna reap the benefits of They're the ones
We've
that
had
need
that
it.
agreement for 20
They're the
years.
ones that need it.
You know, we don't need it.
No, I know.
Yeah, for that.
I like Tim's way, I don't bend over backwards and tell them what to do from the beginning, they're the ones that are whining about doing it.
Everything was okay.
Yeah, I lost my patience with them.
You don't care, I gave him the copy of the reg, right?
No, it's fine.
I mean, you might as well see where it's coming from. I mean, this is,
Absolutely.
you could follow them anyway, you gotta read them.
Yep.
I mean,
Yep.
they should have already picked up on this stuff. 8 to 32 11.
Yeah.
And I,
Yeah, we try to communicate that. I mean, I see Don's position. He needs to make this happen.
well, yeah, but the same aspect. With the tax income they're gonna get, the town can kick in 30,000. Shut up and go on.
Right. What they have to gain is so much more than what we have to gain. And
For a little bit of an amount there,
Yeah.
out of a $500,000
Yeah.
project, come on. If that's gonna be your holdup, I can see it.
yeah, exactly.
And they've been playing games from day one.
Yeah.
Let's go up the hill, let's
Yeah.
go over here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I wasn't sure if we were being taped, but I don't trust the contractors.
I don't either.
I don't trust the people that own that place
Not
whatsoever.
a bit.
They're just looking to do what they gotta do,
Yeah.
and they're gonna unload that facility
Yep.
as soon as they get the first chance.
They're gonna try, come over, but it's not gonna be easy.
Right.
And I think, so we need to have full-time inspectors down there. Because I don't trust them at all.
Oh, no, I wouldn't either.
Well, that's part of the specifications, is clerk of work, they need to write that.
That we approve.
That's right. Yep.
Yeah, so if we gotta send down one of Dave's, to his, who does that? Robert?
Yeah, Robert does it sometimes. Yep. Yeah, and he's a great inspector.
Oh, I can imagine.
Yeah.
Anything like the rest of the people.
He's a great inspector. He's,
That's actually what my chairman does too. Clerk of the works, he did it for the Canaan Railroad Station.
is that right?
Yeah, and then Doug Lewis is doing it for us. Doug,
Uh-huh.
former first elected in North Canaan.
Yep.
He's doing it for our project.
Oh, okay.
So I mean, he's like thorough,
Yep.
you know, writes down everything, pictures, everything.
Yeah, it's good. So, yeah, I don't trust this guy even a little
No,
bit.
no.
Oh, you could ask Santa for the briefcase?
You know, I kind of like this one. I got this for wetlands about, I don't know, my ex's father, he had used it for his laptop. And I kind of ended up with it, and I used it for wetlands for 13 years. And I've been using it for the town for 5. And it's just an excellent size, and yeah, it's been great.
I got one something like this to bring my stuff when I was flying a lot, to Florida. I got it for $1 at Goodwill.
Jeez, gotta like that.
I tell you, you go down there and you look at it, especially if you go to one in Amon. That's where all the fancy stuff is.
Right.
So they got that shit, they got it all over the racks, people,
See you, John.